Education is the foundation for our future, and our future, quite frankly, depends on it. Welcome to Vital Signs. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta. 7 of the top 10 smartest places in the world, according to PISA, that's the Program for International Student Assessment, are located in Asia. The smartest country is Singapore. So what are they doing right there? And what can the rest of us around the globe learn from them? You wouldn't know by looking at it. Stuffed animals, colorful books, lots of toys. But this is the bedroom of Aiden Na, one of the smartest kids in the world.
Look at this. There's a lot. This one's K.
We realized that he's kind of gifted at a very early age. I would say maybe about 8 months.
Then this one is J.
He seemed really drawn to numbers and shapes and colors. He was able to recognize the alphabets right about 8 months old.
His IQ was first tested at age 3. It was 142, making him a 3-year-old genius. Now, raising a kid that smart can be daunting.
There is a mismatch between the intelligence development as well as his psychological development. So that might be a conflict, and there might be issues with him not being able to express his emotions appropriately at that age.
So far, it seems Aiden expresses himself just fine. He acts and looks, well, his age, 5 years old. But watch what happens when you give him a math problem.
You need to move all of these like this rush hour. You need to move all of these.
It's a logic game.
I'm 5 years old. I'm 5 years old. But I still can do this. It's very easy for me.
Children, with higher intelligence quotient tend to be very competitive. So, in dealing with their daily activities, we try to really focus on the process rather than the outcome.
Aiden has something else going for him as well. He lives in what the international community agrees is the smartest country in the world, Singapore.
Singapore is a fascinating case. They had no skills, they had nothing. And now today, they are one of the best performing economies in the entire world. They did it largely with education and training.
Mark Tucker is with the National Center for Education and the Economy. He has another simple explanation as to what makes Singapore tops in education: the teachers.
They made an absolutely key decision. They decided to source their teachers only from kids who came out of high schools with A levels.
To see the impact of the highest level teachers, we tagged along as sleepy-eyed Aiden arrives at Pat's schoolhouse. We wanted to see what a world-class education looks like, feels like.
I think the first years of a child's life is very important. So when you have a very confident child, that child's confidence, will carry him or her through primary school as well. Because not only do you want a child that's smart, right, but you also want a child who is resilient.
In Singapore, whether you're born a genius or not, education is inescapable. It is everywhere, all the time.
Correct. Is that correct? I don't want animals correct.
In addition to his regular intensive schooling, the Learning Math Lab is expected for Aiden every Friday night.
Well done, Aiden.
Wow, this is very easy.
Very easy for you?
Yeah.
You want to try again, the next one? Okay.
They just try to give him like something that is more advanced, worksheets, try to engage him more because he tends to get bored. And I think a lot of teachers knows that, so they try to engage him during the classes.
Starting in the 1970s, Singapore's economic needs shifted. Before, they used to have a low-cost, low-skilled labor market, but were quickly moving toward high-tech, white-collar jobs. And the education system needed to follow along. Soon, it wasn't just about universal literacy. it was about a world-class education for every single child.
What is it that our children need to be successful in tomorrow's world, tomorrow's economy? One thing that's been clear to them is that the world economy no longer rewards people just for what they know. Google knows everything. The world economy rewards people for what they can do with what they know.
As simple as that sounds, it's not easy for most places around the world. One place that is having a lot of success, though, is the Davidson Academy in Reno, Nevada. When they ask you what is Davidson Academy, how do you describe it?
I would describe it as a safe haven, first of all, for my daughter Grace and my son Ian. Socially, emotionally, it's a place where they can feel that they are understood.
It's all very engaged. The learning is very interactive, very engaging. Students are almost like they're compelled and they want to participate, they want to be part of building something bigger.
Building something bigger and better was exactly what Bob Davidson had in mind when he founded this first-of-its-kind school in 2006. The Academy, which bears his name, is exclusively for children who rank in the top 1/10% of the smartest kids in the country. That means IQ scores of 145 or higher. What do they do differently here, versus other schools?
Yeah, most schools traditionally are age-based education. If you're a certain age, you're in a certain grade. If you're in a certain grade, you get a certain curriculum. We have completely strayed away from that. Every student here has an individual learning plan based on their ability and to some extent based on their interests.
I think the most important aspect of that is, especially for people who don't deal with gifted on a regular basis, is to understand that gifted students aren't uniformly gifted. So I might have a kid who's fantastic at the humanities or a fantastic musician, but they may not be that great at mathematics.
Really knowing your students, doing away with age-based learning, focusing on real-world problem solving, and supporting all of it with teachers who get paid really well might just be the radical sort of overhaul the American education system needs. Funding for educating gifted students is currently just pennies on the dollar compared to funding for special education. Tuition at the Davidson Academy is free, paid for by a large group of philanthropists who believe children, even the smartest children, need to feel challenged in order to learn. And that learning should look very different than what we've been used to for the last 50 years.
My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. Thank you.
The belief that schools are failing to nurture creative skills has grown in recent years.
I have a big interest in education, and I think we all do.
The educator and author, Ken Robinson, argued in an influential TED Talk back in 2006 that current education practices crush students' innate creative talents. Robinson clearly touched a nerve. His became the most watched TED Talk of all time.
I had a great story recently, I love telling it, of a little girl who was in a drawing lesson. She was 6 and she was at the back drawing, and the teacher said this little girl hardly ever paid attention, and in this drawing lesson she did. And the teacher was fascinated. She went over to her and she said, "What are you drawing?" And the girl said, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher said, "But nobody knows what God looks like." And the girl said, "They will in a minute."
So how creative are you? I'm going to put my own creativity to the test when we come back.